right, so thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Elise Amel and I'm here with some colleagues. Uh, and First of all, my colleague Maria Damas is the director of our Sustainable Communities Partnership Program at the University of St. Thomas. Kelly Morrell is with us. She is our partner from Metro Transit, and Ann Richmond is here from Arizona State University. And we're going to be talking today about university and community partnerships that are really designed to maximize the impact on our students and government or organizations in our community. So I'm just going to begin with an overview before we get to our case studies, and just want to express gratitude to the University of Oregon, which is where the model we're going to be talking about began back in 2009, and it's now replicated in some form or another in over 30 different universities in the United States, in Mexico, Brazil, Israel, and Africa. It's really an extremely adaptable model for different university and community contexts, whether it's large or small institutes of higher learning or public or private, and the size of the municipal partner is also a variable that seems to work regardless of whether it's large or small. So all of the examples we're talking about today are part of the EPIC network, which is the network of all of these institutions that share this model. And we're committed to both supporting each other and for expanding the impact of this model across the globe. The important elements of the EPIC and model are that it really is a way for students to get real experience engaging with the public good. Then we actually use best practices of service learning that include making sure there are reciprocal benefits, making sure that the city and municipal partners are the ones who identify the projects. And we have extensive scoping processes that make sure the universities and the community partners are on the same page and understand each other's commitments. And our partnership involves many projects and many disciplines over a period of time, so it really is scaled for impact. So when you scale for impact, the managerial model becomes really critical in order to create efficiency. And so here you can see that the program itself really connects city coordinators and university coordinators. So there's typically a director or manager for each institution, and the university coordinator or director manager is the one who seeks out pre-existing courses to connect with the projects that the partner identifies, and the city coordinator or municipality or governmental organization coordinator identifies the projects with their colleagues. And I just wanted to express in advance the essential nature of having a director or manager at the university, so that it's not, it really just relieves a lot of the chaos involved with each individual faculty member coordinating with the city. A really important piece of making sure that the city and the university are coordinated is something called the project scope, and you'll hear more about the scoping process by my colleagues. And what's really important there is that mutually planning the projects and coordinating the projects up front really creates a much more smooth experience for faculty and students, as well as the city employees who are working with them. And the project scope includes everything in terms of who's responsible for providing what information and what timeline and what budget needs are. And then everybody signs off to make sure that it's mutually agreed upon. And there are lots of reasons why this kind of program works. I just wanted to give a shout out to a few of the most essential things. And one is that typically these programs have some funding that is used by faculty and students to execute the projects that they've committed to. Really, to reemphasize, the director or manager of the university program is generally available to moderate, update, troubleshoot, and adjust all semester long during these projects. So the coordination is really essential. And then, there's a redundancy of courses and teams that sometimes are executing these projects, and that really makes sure that there's some form of successful contribution by the university. And so I just wanted to reemphasize that it's really a win-win-win-win situation where cities get movement on some of their sustainability projects, students get real-world experience, faculty get to do exciting things with their discipline, universities get to engage with their communities, and the future generations will benefit from the movement in sustainability. So we're going to transition now to two established programs to provide some case studies to illustrate what I've introduced. And while we're doing the transition, Michelle is going to post a poll asking you to what degree your university engages in this kind of work.
All right, now that you've all had a chance, hopefully, to fill out the poll, I'm going to start the first case study of how this partnership works at a university. So my name again is Maria, and I direct the Sustainable Communities Partnership, or SCP for short, at the University of St. Thomas. So first, in this part of the presentation, I'll provide an overview of SCP, and then Kelly Morrell from Metro Transit will discuss our partnership from the perspective of a transit agency. And then finally, I'll return to wrap up with an exciting method to engage the community as a whole in university partner projects. So SCP is a member of the EPIC network. And just as Elise mentioned, programs in this network seek to connect communities and universities to improve quality of life by engaging students in innovative problem solving that advance community sustainability goals. So cities and government agencies face sustainability questions and challenges across social, economic, and ecological dimensions, but often don't have the time or resources to investigate these questions themselves along with all of their other responsibilities. So programs like in the EPIC and network seek to collaborate to advance goals. To do this, SCP forms multi-year partnerships with cities and government agencies in the Twin Cities area to develop sustainability projects important to them. SCP then collaborates with the faculty and the partners to adapt and integrate these partner-identified projects into courses across disciplines. And this partnership, these projects are mutually beneficial. They enrich student learning in class, and they expand the capacity of cities and government agencies to achieve their sustainability goals. So again, these are multidisciplinary projects to achieve overarching partner goals. And this slide has a few examples of project topics. And since SCP began in spring 2016, we've collaborated with partners to integrate over 100 projects into courses across 25 different disciplines, which I think demonstrates that each discipline has something incredibly valuable to contribute to sustainability. And I think this is so exciting to see this multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary representation. So once the project is integrated into a course by partners and faculty in SCP, students then apply what they were already going to learn in the class, what they're learning in class, to create solutions to the community identified questions and goals. And this prepares students for the complexities of real world problem solving throughout their whatever diverse career path they may follow, their own field, their own major. The top skills that students report gaining from SCP projects include the ability to understand the complexity of real-world problems, the ability to apply coursework beyond the classroom to solve problems, and critical thinking, presentation, communication, collaboration, and teamwork skills. And it's been really exciting because students have come back after they've graduated to tell me that talking about their SCP projects and job interviews has helped them get a job. And the experience has helped prepare them for the complexity of their work after they graduate. And this is the value to students, this applied learning experience in partnership with the community. And Metro Transit is one of our amazing SCP partners. I'm so thankful for their partnership and the experiential and applied learning value their projects bring to students at St. Thomas across disciplines, including the ways they prepare students for the sustainability questions facing our communities. So now I'll hand it over to Kelly to discuss Metro Transit and our partnership.
Hi, can you hear me? Thumbs up, okay, making sure. Thanks, Maria. Again, I'm Kelly Morrell with Metro Transit. Metro Transit is the primary transit provider in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region. We operate the largest transit system in the state of Minnesota, so we are essential to getting people to where and from where they need to go in our region. I work in marketing and outreach, and one of our target constituencies is college and university campuses. One, they tend to be pretty transit accessible, but then also research has shown that when young adults are exposed to good transit between the ages of 18 and 24, they're more likely to factor transit access into their significant decisions in the future, like where they work and where they live. So we always have relationships with our schools across the region. St. Thomas is the largest private university in Minnesota, and it's the 6th largest in our institution. So we've had a relationship with them for quite a while. But prior to 2017 or 2016, most of our engagement was really devoted to promotions and discounts and incentives and kind of how we could sell transit as a service or a product. And most of our contacts were from parking and facilities and finance. And so I started seeking out departments that could help us connect with students on a deeper level about the value of transit as a community asset and then as our a key tool in our fight against climate change. And that's how I found SCP. Go ahead, switch slide. So our first projects were really focused. We tried to keep the project proposals small to just increasing transit use on campus. So we partnered with strategic communications and marketing research classes to kind of develop campus-specific campaigns and information programs for students. You'll see there that some students put together some transit itineraries that they could offer to their friends on campus about take the 87 and you can go on your first date to a pizza place, some frozen yogurt, and a movie theater. But we realized through these first few smaller projects that SCP projects filled a previously unrealized gap. Because we have all these things that the ways we get work done as a transit agency. Obviously we have staff, but we are a government agency. We have limited resources in terms of staff and money. So our staff always have things at the bottom of their to-do list. We never quite get it done. We do have interns, but interns are employees, and so they require a lot of heavy management, and they're only there for 3 months. We do work regularly with Humphrey is a public policy school in the Twin Cities, and we help students. Students do projects as part of their capstones, but those are really limited to projects about regional and urban planning or public policy, and not every project is about those sort of high-level ideas. Some of them are just as simple as how do we communicate better. And then finally, we have these really large projects where we go out with an RFP to a research institution to a consultant, and those are also very resource heavy. So we found that SCP has allowed us to fill this gap in between all these things that we currently have working towards our goals. Slide. So as we've continued to do more projects, we've really found that collaboration with SCP has work towards our core values of environmental responsibility, innovation, and community orientation. And that's been really important to explain to our agency leadership why we continue this relationship. So, excuse me, we've expanded a lot beyond our initial projects. We now have 11 projects, or we've done 11 projects across 9 courses, and that includes one project that's currently in progress. And then the economics department actually made transit data the focus of their data analytics competition, which I think the students enjoyed, but I know our strategic initiative staff, who are mostly data analysts, absolutely loved. They had a lot of fun with that. So of these projects, I just want to quickly highlight a couple. That first one there, the College Pass Market Research, that was an applied business research class that conducted surveys and focus groups at local colleges to figure out how we could do better to promote our all-you-can-ride transit pass for students. And from that, the students discovered that at one particular school, where there was very good transit ridership, they weren't selling the pass in the summer because the school couldn't subsidize it. But what they found out through the research is that students would still buy it because they really needed transit access for those 11 weeks. And so we were then able to use that product's deliverables to persuade that school to start selling the product during that fare product in the summer. Third one down there, the improving customer satisfaction surveys for native Spanish speakers. A business Spanish class used their language skills to go interview key stakeholders in our Latinx community to help us figure out better ways that we could improve response rates of our biennial customer satisfaction survey. We just weren't getting a lot of Spanish speaking people filling out the survey, and they're an important part of our ridership. We need to make sure that we were serving them. So they had great ideas from just all over the region. And then finally, we had a group of female identifying students in a market research class. They were tasked with identifying transit perceptions of safety on transit by college-age women. So they reached out to their peers and their friends and students at other colleges to give us more feedback about sort of how women, particularly college-age women, feel on our system, so that we can use that information that they might not necessarily give to us easily to build a better safety system for our transit riders. Next slide. So through all these projects, we've learned a few key lessons. One is that our higher level management loves it. They like the opportunity to connect with students, to leave the office, to leave the garage, and usually it's just a couple times. It's for orientation and then for the deliverables, but they feel really connected. They love hearing from the students and what they're experiencing, but they love being able to participate without the burden of having to deal with the logistics. We've also found that there's a real benefit to having the results of any study or research delivered by a neutral external party of students. Sometimes staff are seen as coming with an agenda, and so our leaders like to hear it come from kind of this neutral party of students. Related to that first one, it is really helpful to have a single point of contact for Metro Transit. That's me. That allows me to communicate between and coordinate between the students, the professors, SCP staff, and our agency staff. It allows staff to participate without feeling the burden of those logistics, but it also makes sure that the students get the guidance and answers they need in a timely fashion. And then finally, one lessons learned that we're still working on and getting better at is being more intentional about making sure students share their results with agency stakeholders. That can be tough at the end of a semester. Students have a lot going on, but we're trying to get better about making sure they're the ones to deliver their products and their deliverables. That's it for me.
All right. So thanks, Kelly. So it's back to me. Can you all hear?
There was a question that came up during Kelly's presentation. How do you manage to introduce a project in different courses and different disciplines?
So the way that this works, the process is that with the partner, so for example, in this case with Metro Transit, Kelly and I meet and we discuss what Metro Transit's overarching goals are and areas that they have that they don't have capacity to do the research themselves at that point in time. There are projects that are important to them but are not urgent. So we generally don't integrate urgent projects into courses. We integrate important projects that are always kind of being pushed back to the background because of urgent things. And as Kelly and I discuss those project topics, I communicate with faculty from different disciplines to discuss with them the possibilities of integrating one part of a project to enhance and enrich what they're teaching in their class. So I'm very familiar with what all the faculty are teaching and the interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary nature of the project topics and how each project could a discipline could look at the project from different angles. So for example, Kelly mentioned several of the projects that we've worked on with Metro Transit across different disciplines. So hopefully that can highlight how different disciplines have engaged with the projects and goals that Metro Transit has. And I can follow up with that later too. All right. So hopefully that helps answer that question. And this next portion will highlight one project which might also enhance the response to that question. So to wrap up Kelly and my portion of this presentation, I'd like to also discuss an exciting method to engage the community as a whole with university partner projects. So a couple of years ago, inspired by the transformative impacts of efforts that bridge art and sustainability, I started SCP Arts. The goal of this is to engage residents of partner communities with SCP project findings through art. So as Kelly mentioned, one thing we're working on is being sure that students are actively engaging with Metro Transit as they present and discuss their results. We also really want the communities to be involved in engaging with the results as well. And so SCP Art seeks to do that. The way this works is that students collaborate with a local artist to translate their SCP project findings into artwork. So the artist comes to their class and leads workshops during class to talk with students about their project findings and how these could be communicated through art. So together, the artist and students develop the concepts for the artwork, and the artist actually does the drawing or the artwork itself, but together they develop the concepts. And this interaction of research and art also enriches students' analysis and communication of their project findings because they have to think about it in a really different way. SCP partners can then share the artwork in their communities and beyond, bringing to life their sustainability goals for people of all ages. And these include public art installations, exhibitions, and informal ways as well. So one example with Metro Transit, here's an SCP Arts project with Metro Transit. One of Metro Transit's goals is to understand and communicate the importance of public transit to the community. So Kelly collaborated with Leadership for Social Justice students to explore the diverse stories of transit riders and the importance of transit in their lives. Students worked with our artist in residence, Sarah Nelson, who's pictured there in the top, doing a workshop during class, to translate the connecting themes of their research into artwork. And students identified the theme of transformation in transit riders' stories and developed the visual metaphor in conversation with students of the monarch butterfly's life cycle to communicate this theme. And to engage the community, the illustrations became the exterior wrap of a light rail train car in the Twin Cities during Earth Week last year and throughout the summer. And the interior was also fully illustrated by Sarah to express the interdependent relationship between nature, sustainability, community, and of course, public transportation. And public transportation in these scenes that you see here are connecting various community scenes throughout the seasons. And I also wanted to give a special thanks to the College of Arts and Sciences at St. Thomas for helping to fund that installation. So that is a snapshot of SCP. Our partnership with Metro Transit. We have several other partnerships with other cities and government agencies as well. And we're so thankful for all our partners. Thank you, Metro Transit and Kelly. And also a snapshot of SCP Arts, which is just a creative method to engage the community with project findings. So next, Anne will talk about the Sustainable Cities Network at Arizona State University, which is also part of the EPIC N network.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so let me share my screen. Can you see it all? Is that all right? Okay, all right. So thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in the Ashoka session, Creating Leaders for Sustainable Systems through University Community Partnerships. I so enjoy listening to other programs, presentations, because I come away with so many great ideas. So thank you, Maria and Kelly. Annalise. That's actually, I love it just as much as everybody else. So my name is Ann Richmond. I am director of Arizona State University's Sustainable Cities Network program and Project Cities program. And I would normally have our Project Cities program manager, Steve Russell, co-presenting with me today. But however, due to some work-related changes associated with the pandemic and COVID-19, Steve's not able to participate today, so I'll be presenting solo to you. He certainly says hello to everyone. And for my portion of the session, I'm going to be talking a little bit about our story behind Project Cities, how ASU got to the point of creating the program, how it's structured, and some of the successes and challenges we've experienced, in hopes that it will actually be helpful to you so that you, if are at a point of creating a similar type of program, you can kind of learn from our best practices. And much of what Maria and Kelly have already stated holds true also for our program. So first thing, before I get started with Project Cities, I have to kind of come back and kind of tell you a little bit about ASU because Project City truly supports our university mission. And we're kind of on the other spectrum, I think, with regards to the University of St. Thomas as a private institution. We are a very large public research university. So Arizona State University is the largest public university in the country. We have over 110,000 students, all right now working online, taking classes due to COVID-19. And to give you a frame of reference as to the community that we serve, ASU is located in Tempe, which is part of the Greater Phoenix metro region. We sit in Maricopa County, which is the 5th largest county in the country, and it houses over 30 different cities and towns and 4 tribal communities. So we're, I think, the 4th or 5th largest metro region in the United States. So our president of the university is constantly pushing us to be an innovator and to be socially embedded in our community. And you can see our ASU charter on there, which basically, you know, reinforces our commitment as a local stakeholder and partner to serve our different types of communities from an economic, social, cultural, and health perspective. We also align with 8 design principles, which are our strategies to transitioning ASU to what we call a new American university. And so it really comes down to embracing our sense of culture, making sure all of our students are successful, being connected to the multidisciplinary disciplines involved, furthering innovation. As has been mentioned, we want to have mutually beneficial partnerships, but most importantly, research that's purposeful and impactful and really engages with our local communities. So we do this through the Sustainable Cities Network, which is a precursor to Project Cities, and it really aligns nicely with our charter. We call it SCN, and it is a university community network created in 2009 as an education and outreach program for our Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability to serve our local communities. So we've been functioning now for about 11 years, and it's really taken us over a decade to cultivate relationships with all of our city staffs and departments. And it's all about the purpose of strengthening our local and regional sustainability efforts. And we do this through networking municipal professionals together, creating kind of that glue and renewed sense of purpose with our sustainability practitioners, sharing best practices, encouraging collaboration, enabling ASU to apply its research expertise and be a leader, and then also striving for impact with our local communities on sustainability policies and practices. So that actually kind of leads us to our community engagement piece, which has to do with how we engage. And so we have a variety of different meeting formats, and I'm not going to go into pretty much any of these, but we meet on a monthly basis on topics relating to interest of the cities. And so that keeps our group conversing and yeah, putting ideas and challenges at the forefront. We have various types of regional and statewide meetings. We also support internships for our students and grant research. But I think what is the precursor for our Project Cities program is that we had been engaging 2 of our sustainability school classes with cities from 2014 to 2017. And in that time period, we actually just put out calls to our city as to, do you have something for us to work on, to put our students to work? And they all said yes. And so we partnered with over 20 cities and organizations on a broad range of one-off type projects, which included everything from solid waste, water planning, sustainability, arts was included in that. And so it was really, as Kelly mentioned, giving the opportunity for the students to actually do some of that heavy lifting for those community partners so that they could actually add capacity to the local community, get that real world training, and then also, kind of help the cities kind of move ahead. And we had so much success with that I started to look around at different models as to how we could just work with one city on a menu of projects. And that's how I ran across the Sustainable Cities Year program at the University of Oregon, Eugene. And that's kind of where our journey started with regards to starting the Project Cities program. And so as you can see, our little step chart here, 2011 to 2015 was when it took me 4 years to actually research all these best practices to get to a point of creating the Project Cities program. We also, SCYP at the University of Oregon, held annual conferences, which was very helpful in identifying lessons learned, talking about budgets, how much these kind of programs cost, what was the faculty practices, what are some of the challenges. And so it was very helpful in us determining the framework and not making some of those mistakes that other programs made in the very, very beginning. And so 2015, we got the blessing to go ahead and creating our program. And we named it Project Cities, which was quite a process in and of itself. And we decided to actually just identify a couple of communities, start small, that we could approach for initial partnership. And so we ended up partnering with Apache Junction, which is in our East Valley, a very small community, about 35,000. They have some unique challenges. They have the most, mobile home parks in the state. They have 125 individual mobile home parks within their jurisdiction. Their population also doubles during the winter due to the winter visitor population. And so we provided some unique project ideas to our students based on that, and it was a huge success. And then the following year, we put out an online RFP to request our second partner, which ended up being selected. It was the city of Glendale. And then this past year, we've had 2 partnerships, one with the city of Peoria, which is a large city on the west side. And then we did an experiment with going outside to a rural community up in northern Arizona called the town of Clarkdale. We also became an EPIC Network member in 2019, and so we greatly appreciate that participation. It's incredibly helpful when sharing different best practices, dealing with issues, coming up with new ideas. So it's definitely worth getting involved in. So what is Project Cities? In a nutshell, it's a 12 to 24 month program in which it's a university community partnership. We work with 1 to 2 communities selecting on a menu of projects and challenges, and we pair those or match them with faculty-led classes for students from multiple disciplines. And it's really about co-creating recommendations, strategies, and innovative solutions to help the cities move forward on various types of projects, some which may have been shelved or stuck for quite some time. ASU's focus has primarily been sustainability in helping communities with kind of their economic, environmental, and social challenges, but other universities across the country have had various concentrations. Some, I think, have dealt with health or more rural communities. So you can kind of customize it, I guess, based on what your needs are in your area. And a lot of times we get questions on how are we funded. So typically we ask a city as our partner to provide some financial contribution to support the projects. And so this varies based on the complexity of the project or the type of class. So it can range anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 per project, but sometimes we can have projects involving multiple classes. ASU does make a commitment to cover some of the primary staff costs, if not fully funded by the city fees. And our main priority is really creating a program that's a win-win. I know that's been kind of preached up to this point, but it's really important that all stakeholders have walk away with value from the relationship. And I think that just reinforces the ability to move ahead and keep those partnerships going. How our process works is it takes about a year to actually tee up a city partnership. We put out an RFP in the fall, recruit a city partner via an online application. This includes questions about financial fundings, project ideas, staff time, mayor and city council support, possible project ideas, and then from there we select a city project or city partner. We create then a menu of projects based on that feedback and shop it around to our departments and faculty, creating a list of potential projects and class matches. Over the summer, we finalize all of our agreements and our scope of works. So each project has an individual scope of work that basically outlines the class and city responsibilities, as well as anticipated outcomes for the end of the semester. And then at the beginning of the semester in particular, the first thing we do with a new partner is we host a kickoff event, bringing city staff and faculty and classes together so that they can discuss the details of the project and get to know each other, so to speak. So the project cities, the goal of the program is essentially to provide value to the student learning experience, as has been mentioned. From our standpoint, it's about improving the quality of life of the cities that we function in and our neighbors, providing cross-collaborative opportunities, but also basically providing our students with that real-world experience. But it's more from learning how to communicate and how to act and how to dress professionally, how to handle situations when you don't have all the information or data, kind of moving ahead in the unknowns, but also how to come up with some constructive, I guess, recommendations, some realistic expectations, and then handling constructive criticism is always a good learning experience for our students. So next, this is a snapshot of our faculty that are involved. So for over the past 3 years, we've developed relationships with a growing number of ASU departments, teaching classes that usually involve a community partner or a community type project. So our project cities is more of a drop-in class add. So we do not ask our faculty to create a new type of class. This is something that they just add into their existing syllabus. To date, we've had 29 multidisciplinary faculty. As you can see, there's a lot of different, I guess, backgrounds represented: geographical sciences and urban planning, engineering, environmental resource management, arts and sciences. We've got criminal justice, public service and community solutions, innovation, just goes on. And so we've had 15 departments participate, working on 21 projects, and then also 36 project matches. And overall, we're close to about 600 students that we have served through that program. We utilize a variety of project cities class formats, and this just kind of gives you the spectrum. Most of them are traditional classes, which are your lecture style classes, so to speak. A good example of the traditional one is our current class doing a sustainability plan review for the city of Peoria, where the class is dividing into 8 groups, each reviewing a different topical chapter of Peoria's sustainability plan. So one group will be doing transportation, one might be doing waste, one might be doing water conservation. It's nice because it builds redundancies. So if you have some groups that are smaller or stronger than others, they can kind of balance each other out and help each other kind of raise the bar. It's also a great divide and conquer type of approach. And it allows you to deal with a variety of different types of projects and research questions. Online classes is another one that we have utilized. And I think through the EPIC network, ASU was one of the first to actually use an online format for this model. And it's kind of similar to large online or in-person classes, except for the fact that you really have to be more creative with this approach. And a lot of times the classes have used various types of like virtual, what do you call it, site visits. They've used video often to engage, obviously, discussion. So it's a little more challenging, but we've seen some great results from that. The next one is our studios, and this is often common with, for example, design school and urban planning type classes where they work in small groups, very intense, like long sessions. This is kind of a high quality product type of engagement, and we're currently using that method with our Clarkdale Downtown Corridor Revitalization Project currently this semester. So you do get some great outputs, usually visual, and the cities really appreciate that type of class engagement. The last one is capstone and individual applied projects. And what you have to remember is for ASU School of Sustainability, each graduating student has to have either a capstone or applied project to graduate. So this is single students that have a research agenda. And so we try to match those sometimes with the city partners. And it's a high risk, high reward type opportunity where some of the projects and student work is absolutely magnificent. We have had certain cases where students not able to finish, so that does create some issues if you do run into that situation. And so it is really, I think, one that we like to invest in. It won't up your numbers too well with the number of students participating, but it can have great rewards. A good example of this is the young student that did the mobile home park project for Apache Junction. Actually was commended by the city for her work. She won a statewide APA Best Student Project Award last year, and then she placed 4th nationally with her project and was eventually hired by a local city to do their planning. So that was a really wonderful kudo. So this is kind of a list of our overall projects that we have encountered with each of our city partners. We started with a small number and broad topics based on city needs and interests. It's kind of increased in complexity. And I think our biggest challenge is always finding the right class to match with it. I'm not going to go too much into these, but you can see the broad range of topics, everything from revitalization, solid waste systems, revenue sources, chemical storage tank management plans, fleets. So it is all across the board. Next is, this is a photo of our kickoff for Apache Junction, our first initial city partner with the Superstition Mountains in the background. They still have equestrian trails out there. And so you can ride your horse up to the city hall. And it's basically, we do this for every semester with our city partner. And it's really about bringing the city staff together with the students to talk about the projects, but also to create that enthusiasm that you need with all the participants to get the creative juices flowing and getting everybody started off on the right foot. The next one is we do host city visits. And this is where I take a bus or a lift out to the city and have the students actually tour whatever it is that they need to in order to get a good feel for the project. And it's a really good opportunity for them to practice their professional skills in communication. As part of Project Cities, we try to give the students in the city some tech tools to use. And Steve's been really good about implementing this. This helps us bridge the communication gaps, centralize documents and data and information, and kind of evaluate programs. So some of these include like Google Drive access. So cities can drop in documents into one location so all the classes can access them. Students can aggregate their work in a particular location. We use Zoom, of course, exclusively because of COVID-19. All of our classes and all of our functions now for Project Cities are online, including our student showcase coming up at the end of April. And then we use Qualtrics for public surveys, Slack channels for communications, and then we offer our students Grammarly doodle poll access, any kinds of online programs that might help coordination run smoothly. We also provide each class a budget of $500 to $1,000 for resources. We haven't had too much use of this, but some of the most popular uses include transcription services, following in-person community interviews, transportation mileage, mapping software, public supplies for public outreach. So it kind of hits the gamut. We also do cross-promotion with our cities because we all want to promote our successes. And of course, we have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. At the end of the semester, we have our showcase, which is a full day of presentations and classes on their findings and recommendations. They're attended by city dignitaries and staff. And we do have a poster session for one-on-one discussion. All materials are put online. And this year, as I mentioned, our showcase, which is taking place on April 29th, is all virtual. So we'll have a virtual lobby for networking, scheduled times for the student presentations, and breakout rooms for our poster discussion. And then as a culmination, this is probably the key deliverable, we create a semi-professional report that is distributed to the city staff and mayor and council. We have a Project Cities grad student that takes all those student reports, aggregates it into kind of the highlights and the recommendations. These are great giveaway pieces, and the city council loves these. Overcoming challenges, always thinking ahead. Despite our successes, we always have challenges to overcome, and EPIC's been a great resource for trying to identify those. You can see from the word art, there's a lot to deal with, everything from our project scopes changing to difficult faculty. We have city staff that sometimes have expectations that are way too high. COVID-19 has transitioned all our activities. But I think for all the other programs, one of the things that it's changed the most is city budgets are frozen or being reduced 10 to 25%, and that will ultimately impact our programs. So we're reassessing our partner options for next year. So maybe we just don't work with one partner, we work with multiple cities with smaller budget items or regional type projects. So we're always kind of working ahead and seeing how we can be flexible and adjust. So we have lots of success stories. Our goal is good educational, real world experience for our students. As Maria and Kelly have said, we really want to create the leaders for our next, I guess you could say, group of community workers. We hope that some of our students will go on to work for our municipalities and represent well some of our work as a university. These are some of the success stories that we still have continuing on beyond one semester. So we're very excited about that. And that's a priority for us, is to monitor and evaluate the continued success of our Project Cities classes. So with that, I will end. Sorry, I think I went a little bit over, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anne. I think we do have a few minutes left for some questions.
Okay, so we did have actually two questions. One was about if the slides will be available later. So just to let everyone know, EventMobi has the slides for this session if you have the EventMobi app. But also, is there another way that if you don't have the app, presenters, is there another way for people to access your slides? Or should they reach out to you, or how can that happen?
Sure, you could reach out to me. This is Elise, and I'd be happy to share slides. I'm sorry, mine didn't show up at the beginning. So my guess is that many of the requests will be for the display of the model and that kind of thing. But certainly, please reach out to me at elamel@stthomas.edu, and I'll type it into the chat.
And then the other question came in. So Anne, you mentioned a new American university. Could you elaborate a little bit on what that is and what the goals of that are?
That's a very good question. And I would certainly recommend that the person that was interested go to ASU's website to get more specific details on the New American University. But it's really changing the paradigm of what the role is of a university. And it really ties to our charter, which is being more of a serving purpose for the communities. We're also transitioning to what's called an enterprise model. So our funding from the state has diminished year after year after year. And so we're relying more on finding research grants and that. And so it's really transitioning to a new model where we don't rely on as much of that public funding, but we still maintain our public stewardship to the outside community and on a global level too.
Okay, thank you.
That was kind of a roundabout way, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know the the exact wording for New American University, but I'm happy to share the link to it so you can take a look at it and see if it's something that your university would be interested in implementing as well.
And then our next question, any advice on how to convince faculty to include these real world projects in their courses?
I guess that's for all of us, huh?
I would say one way that I've found effective. So there are always, I think, a few faculty who will be early adopters and will be really excited about the opportunity to integrate a real world applied project into their classes, especially if they're already kind of set up for research-based projects. And then I also find that once you have this set of early adopters who have integrated these projects into their classes, they then go and recommend to their colleagues to do the project. So I've had multiple faculty come to me upon the recommendation of their colleagues. So I think that's another way to do it. So kind of, and then the final way is, well, there's many more than 3 ways, but to keep it short so Anne can respond to, is to have a process where initial conversations about integrating a project are no commitment. So you can just have a conversation to see if the project would actually enrich their course and to see how you can adapt it so it fits within the opportunities and constraints of that particular course so that they're not having to substantially change their course. The project is truly enriching their course without substantial changes. So we can adapt the scope and the scale of the project to a particular course.
Right. I was going to say one of the things that we do is we offer what's called a faculty open house where the city will present the project idea and then the faculty have the opportunity to chat one-on-one with the staff to propose, find out more information, but then also propose different angles or things that they might be able to do through their classes. So it kind of broadens the scope perhaps and opens the mind of the city as to all the other options that they have for student work that they maybe didn't think originally when they were throwing out the project idea.
Okay, thank you. Next question, to what extent are the communities you're working with involved in the process of the projects?
I would say they're very involved in the process of the project. We have consistent check-ins as part of the scope of work, and so they're invited at certain times to meet with the students on a consistent basis. They can actually attend physical class or via Zoom. Check in, answer questions. We have a kind of a mid-semester check-in where they can do a semi-presentation as well, and also review any information the students have put together in advance to kind of realign them if the students are off base or not as far along as they need to be. So that's one way we involve the cities.
Okay, I'm just going to cut in for 1 second. I recognize that it's 3:15 and we have 2 more questions. For those attendees that need to hop off to get a little break, feel free to. Presenters, do you feel comfortable finishing out these questions for the people? Yes, thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Does anyone else want to elaborate on the answer for this question? No? Okay, so the next question. How are these experiences tied to an overall university mission? And do you have an individual at your institution who leads this work more broadly?
I'll start off, and I would love for if Elise wanted to chime in too. For us, the beginning of the Sustainable Communities Partnership at the University of St. Thomas was directly tied to the university mission. So there, in 2015, there was a strategic planning process, and within that process, there were goals identified for multidisciplinary applied learning, for advancing the common good, for preparing students for the complexity of problem solving in the real world. So we had this strategic planning process that was explicitly articulating those kinds of goals. And we had participated in, as faculty, the EPIC N program through another consortium of universities called City Labs prior to that. And then, so we decided, Elise and I decided to submit a grant. There was also in our university a call to propose new programs to advance that strategic planning goal. And so we submitted a proposal, internal grant proposal, internal program proposal to start the Sustainable Communities Partnership to advance the university mission in those ways. And so that's kind of how that happened. So it originated directly from the university mission, and I'm not in University of St. Thomas is really truly a mission-driven university, and that we are. I'll speak for Elise on this, but please chime in. That we were so thankful that we were able to connect this. The university has that mission of applied experiential learning in partnership with the community. To prepare students for complexity of the real world, and now we also have and develop sustainability as a part of our mission as well.
Yeah, so Maria pretty much covered it. I think we hit 5 of the 6 strategic, dimensions of the plan. So it was kind of a no-brainer for funding by the university. Subsequently, our president, university president, has really utilized the outcomes from the Sustainable Communities Partnership to celebrate how the university is fulfilling its mission. So it has been accepted as a really great instantiation of what our university strives to do. The Sustainable Communities Partnership is kind of a standalone project. It's not part of a larger. It's not really. We have similar other organizations around the institution, like for the Center for the Common Good, but this particular work kind of stands alone because of its need to be agile, to change to the needs of the city partners and that kind of thing. So it's been kind of nice to have, Maria just has a lot of autonomy to do, her creative work.
Okay, thank you. And our last question, are there strategies to build relationships with community? I lied, there's one more question after this. Are there strategies to build relationships with the community?
I guess, yes. Certainly with regards to relationships with the communities, we've kind of taken a similar approach, I guess, to the University of St. Thomas, in that we're trying to partner with your atypical communities, so the ones that don't usually get all the attention and the money, to kind of elevate their relationship with the university, but elevate their issues, essentially, and also expose them to some of the research, because they often get overlooked because of their lack of resources, or because their problems are so complex and not really sexy. And so it's really trying to broaden the base of communities that the university coordinates and supports.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just add about the strategies for building community or building relationships with the community. As Anne mentioned before, we also do this too at St. Thomas. We have opportunities for the community partners to meet, the city partners to meet with faculty. And that is a really amazing relationship building forum as well. Forum is kind of too like sterile of a word, but the more that you can create opportunities for actual relationship building, I think that's where you get the relationships that can sustain the partnership over time, and you can develop mutual understanding of what would be mutually beneficial for both the community and for the students. And we also have ability or events, forums for the community to interact directly with the students through career panels and informal networking and all of that. So whatever it would look like best for your institution, having creating opportunities for relationship building of individuals that are part of the university and part of the community and part of the partnership, the more deep I think the partnership will become. And that's been really, really essential and helpful for us here.
One thing I'd like to mention is that this isn't kind of a one-size-fits-all type model. I think there's really a lot of flexibility available to institutions of varying sizes as to how they implement it. You don't have to do it the same way as everybody else. And so, yeah, it's really a way you can tailor it to your interests and your political capacity, your funding level, maybe the topics that you deal with cities. I think that there's a lot of options there. And so, yeah, it's very malleable, so to speak.
And also, as you as the partnership develops over time, your like city partners will recommend to their city colleagues to partner with the program as well, which has been really exciting to see. And we've even had alumni that have been in classes that have integrated projects become interns or employees at cities that have then asked their city to participate or to partner. So there's all kinds of interesting networks of relationships that just also build and develop over time.
Thank you. So this is seriously our last question, I promise, and everyone can enjoy their break before the next session that they plan to attend. What have you done with social sustainability?
So social sustainability, I find that it's a very important topic with cities, but it's also probably one of the more complex issues to approach and deal with from a community standpoint. We have helped our city partners with a variety of things. Our first semester, we dealt with homelessness project associated with the city of Apache Junction. They weren't even sure if they had a homeless issue, so it was really delving into what the circumstances were at the community level and what kind of resources were involved, because they straddle two counties and they each have different services that they provide. So they have some unique challenges in serving their community. We've also, from a placemaking, I know that's sometimes physical space, but that also deals with a lot of social aspects, and of course the arts as well, and trying to incorporate that more into a lot of our projects. And we haven't gotten too much into the health component of it, but we see that coming obviously with COVID and the pandemic. There's going to be a lot more emphasis in how can we integrate that topic into some of these project concepts.
Perfect.
And I would add climate justice has also been another way that especially the Metropolitan Council, an agency we work with around planning, has been, we've been doing clusters of projects around that get to social sustainability and engagement with diverse constituents and how different policies affect people differently and that kind of thing. So in addition to all of that Anne said, climate justice has also been a priority.
Well, thank you, everyone. Presenters, thank you for staying late and answering everyone's questions. Attendees, thank you for your patience as well. And I hope everyone got all their questions out. You will be able to connect throughout the virtual exchange, so please feel free, presenters, to drop in any information you're comfortable with sharing to reconnect with everyone. And I'll leave this open for just like a minute or two if there's anything else you would like to share.
Thanks, everybody.